God won't give us more than we can handle. These are the words she spoke to me as she calmly and casually explained why the woman who gave me life would be forever damned to a fiery abyss, you see. Those who know me know my mother passed away, but there are certain details that I frequently omit. Details that I happen to conveniently forget because the truth of the matter is that she took her own life. But while suicide is typically born of selfishness, this was an act of selflessness, born out of courage, not of cowardice. But while just 2 months prior she'd been told she had less than a year to live. But in life, nothing's promised and nothing's free, because if she wanted that time, there'd be hundreds of days of treatments, making 365 deals with the devil, only to be pumped full of chemicals, until she looked like a skeletal shadow of her former self, and she decided that was no way to live. So she took matters into her own hands, and one day we awoke to find the snow had settled. I knew this is something she had been contemplating, and I told her I understood. Because the only thing harder than saying goodbye to someone you love is seeing them in pain. And every day, I have to live with the fact that my understanding was the equivalent of a signed permission slip for a one-way field trip to the afterlife. But God won't give us more than we can handle, she said. Because in her world, suicide was a direct flight to Hades. Did not pass go and did not collect your wings. It was the epitome of unforgivable sins. And I realize this is the Bible Belt, but it seems sometimes that belt more closely resembles a noose, cutting off common sense like circulation. Now I understand God strives for perfection, but while I'm not arrogant enough to believe God makes mistakes, I'd like to think that He makes exceptions. So my mother was the type of woman who wrote thank you cards. Not just for the big things in life, but more often for the small ones, those little acknowledgments that said, thank you for thinking of me. And it was from her deathbed that she wrote a letter trying to instill that value in me, stating, never cease to tell someone how you feel simply because you can't find the words. And being particularly verbose, I've never been short on words, but they were never enough to even etch the outlines of the portrait I would paint of her. My mother took cosmetic camouflage classes for burn victims because she knew these individuals had to cope with the silent stares of this superficial, overanalyzing, holier-than-thou society we live in, and she wanted to do something to help them feel a little more human. And I would gladly give my left leg to be able to do that for her, because with each sympathy card she received and with each passing visit, she began to feel less of a person and more like a public exhibition. Last time I saw my mother, the blood clots had left portions of her skin as black as the precious bubbling crude the governments fiend for like crack addicts, only to wage wars, and I knew she would never get to wear the necklace that I picked out for Christmas, but I bought it for her anyway, hoping to see the hint of a smile. And it is my inclination to say that you don't realize how precious life is until you've driven home on Christmas Day, knowing that you'll never again see the woman that brought you into this world. But I know everyone has their story, and this is just mine. God won't give us more than we can handle, she said. Well, if your God is so strict, so unforgiving, so vengeful, that He would punish a good woman for the remainder of eternity for what I consider to be a minor technicality, then I suppose there's really only one thing left to say. I guess I'll see you in hell.